When she opened that envelope, her face went white. Not just pale. White like every drop of blood in her body had abandoned ship, because inside that envelope was the last thing she ever expected to see from me. The bill for everything they thought they got away with. But that moment, that exact second, wasn't even the beginning. It was the final act of a betrayal that started on Christmas morning, in a living room filled with people who claimed to be my family. Christmas Day. Snow outside, soft music playing. My mom's place in Cedar Rapids decorated exactly the same way it had been my entire life. I stood there holding a tray of the pecan pies I baked every year, the ones everyone claimed they just couldn't celebrate without, and not a single person looked at me. Not my mother, Patricia. Not my sister, Megan. Not my brother, Aaron. Not even my fiancé at the time, Mark, who had insisted I come with him because it's important for the family to see you. The second we walked in, they swarmed him, pulled him into photos, passed gifts around him, talked over him, wrapped him in hugs. Me? I might as well have been a coat stand. But here's where it gets crazy. They didn't just ignore me. They made it a point to act like I wasn't even part of the room. When gifts were handed out, they skipped my name. When the food was served, they didn't pass anything my direction. When my niece opened the bracelet I sent her from K Jewelers, she held it up and my sister said, "Oh wow, this must be from Grandma," even though the gift tag literally had my name on it. And my niece nodded and hugged my mother. My fiancé sat beside me on the couch, oblivious, laughing at jokes I wasn't included in. He whispered, "They're warming up to you," while I stared at the way my own brother turned his back when I tried to speak. Warm wasn't the word for it. Frostbite would have been closer. And then the breaking point hit. After dinner, my mother announced they were doing the family Christmas photo. Everyone gathered, everyone posed. I walked over and my sister stepped right in front of me like I wasn't there and said, "Immediate family only." I blinked. She met my eyes. She said it again, slower, like I was stupid. "Immediate family only." I heard my heartbeat. I felt my throat burn. I looked at Mark. He didn't say a word. He stepped into the photo. They took it. They smiled. They laughed. They made jokes about perfect symmetry and finally a good photo. I stood there holding my coat like a guest waiting for an Uber, and something inside me snapped so fast it scared even me. I walked out. No scene. No tears. No yelling. Just silence. But they had no idea what was coming. I drove home to Des Moines that night with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I replayed every moment of humiliation in my mind like a highlight reel from hell. But underneath the shame was something colder, sharper, a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Because this wasn't just a bad Christmas. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a message. And I heard it, loud and clear. That night around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was an email from my mother. The subject line said, "Holiday expenses." I opened it. And when I saw the number at the bottom, my chest tightened. They had sent me a bill. A literal spreadsheet of food costs, gift wrapping supplies, cleaning services, electricity for hosting extended guests, and my portion of the Christmas meal. The amount owed, $217.59, due within 7 days. I stared at it for a full minute before it hit me. They didn't just ignore me. They wanted me to pay for the privilege of being ignored. But here's where things take a turn they never saw coming. That email? It was sent not just to me, but accidentally CC'd to 37 people. Family, friends, old co-workers, even my boss at the dental office where I worked as a billing coordinator. And beneath the total, my sister had actually added a note. She never contributes unless she's asked. Honestly, she's lucky we included her at all. That line was the gasoline. The match? A single attachment I noticed at the bottom of the email, a second spreadsheet showing how they'd split Grandma Helen's old house after she died last spring, a house I helped clean, paint, and repair, a house I spent 3 weeks working on after surgery, even though they never included me in the inheritance. And now here it was, in black and white. They split the $147,000 profit 3 ways among themselves. My name wasn't even mentioned. I whispered it out loud. They stole from me. And that's when everything changed. I discovered something they didn't know I knew. When Grandma was dying, she gave me a copy of her original will. the one where she left the house to the children collectively. It didn't specify 3 of them. It didn't exclude me, and I still had that document. Signed, dated, legally binding. But my siblings had filed a later, updated version that mysteriously didn't include me. A version I had suspicions about but never proof, until now. That night, I dug through boxes in my closet like a woman possessed, and then I found it. The manila folder with Grandma's handwriting on the front. Inside, the original will. I sat on my bedroom floor, the glow of the lamp on the paper, and felt my entire body heat up. Because my siblings had committed fraud. In Iowa, that's not just family drama, that's a felony. But I wasn't going to call the police, not yet. Revenge that comes too fast is just anger. Revenge that comes slow is justice. But then came the complication, the setback that almost stopped everything. 3 days after Christmas, Mark showed up at my apartment. He knocked like nothing had happened, holding flowers like that could even begin to patch the crater he helped create. He sat on my couch and said the words that almost made me laugh. "I think you owe them an apology." An apology. My inner voice said, this man is either stupid or part of it. Then he slipped. He said, "Your sister told me you've always been dramatic about Christmas stuff." Dramatic. He had been talking to them behind my back, sharing details, joining their side. He even admitted they invited him to a family-only New Year's dinner. And yes, he was going. I asked him, "Did they mention the bill?" And he said, "Well, yeah, and honestly, you should pay it. They did host you." That was it. He walked out with his flowers still sitting untouched on my table. And that was the moment the plan locked into place. Because now it wasn't just my family, it was him too. And something about betrayal multiplies its power when it comes from more than one direction. The next morning, I contacted an attorney in West Des Moines named Lauren Bishop. I brought her the original will. I brought her the spreadsheet they sent me. I brought her screenshots of messages, old emails, and texts from last spring when I was helping renovate the house. She read everything slowly, then looked up at me and said, "They forged a will, and they cut you out of a legally guaranteed inheritance. You have a case. Want to know what I did next?" I didn't confront them. I didn't warn them. I didn't send a single message. I let them believe I was licking my wounds somewhere, being dramatic, while the real work was happening in silence. 3 things happened that first week. First, my attorney sent quiet inquiry letters to the probate court requesting all documents filed around the sale of the house. Second, I hired a forensic document examiner. Third, I met with a realtor and asked for an official estimate of how much sweat equity I contributed to the home repairs. My siblings kept posting on Facebook about their perfect family holiday, tagging Mark in photos, showing their vacations booked for spring, using money that wasn't theirs to begin with. They thought life was moving on. They thought I was gone. Little did they know the ground beneath them was already cracking. The first crack appeared when the probate court responded. The updated will had signatures that didn't match Grandma's writing style. The notary stamp belonged to someone who had lost their license years earlier. And there was no video record of the signing, even though my siblings had claimed one existed. The second crack came when the forensic examiner sent a preliminary report stating strong evidence of signature tracing. My brother had apparently used an old birthday card Grandma sent him as a template. But here's the kicker. My mother knew. She had signed as a witness, and her signature didn't match her own driver's license on file. I felt anger rise again, hot and violent, but I pushed it down. Justice, not rage. Precision, not explosions. 3 weeks later, the hammer dropped. My attorney filed a formal petition in Lynn County Court, accusing my siblings and mother of will fraud, inheritance theft, and falsification of legal documents. The amount we demanded in restitution was $36,750, exactly 1/4 of the profit from the home sale, plus $13,000 for my labor, plus penalties, plus interest, plus legal fees. And then I did something even colder. I responded to their Christmas bill. I forwarded it to the entire accidental CC list, but this time I wrote only one sentence. "Please find attached the bill for the inheritance portion owed to me under Iowa law." And I attached the court filing, the examiner's preliminary report, and the original will. Within hours, My phone blew up. My aunt in Georgia called screaming. My cousin in Chicago said, "Holy shit, they did what?" My mother left 10 voicemails alternating between crying and threatening. My brother sent one text, "Why would you do this?" As if I was the villain. And then something happened that made me sit down from the force of it. Mark texted me, "We need to talk. I didn't know they cut you out of the will." I didn't respond. He kept texting. "I didn't know about the bill. Still nothing. I think I made a mistake. I miss you," he called. He left voicemails saying he'd been manipulated, that he believed them, that he didn't stand up for me, and now he regretted it. I listened to every message with a calmness that felt almost frightening, because the old me would have cried. The new me? She was too focused on watching justice unfold. 2 days later, the news spread through our extended family so fast it became a wildfire. At church, they were whispered about. At my mother's job at the bank, co-workers asked questions. My sister's PTA committee removed her without explanation. My brother's supervisor at the HVAC company called him in for a conversation about ethics. The humiliation alone hit harder than anything I could have said to them. And then came the legal escalation. The state opened a formal investigation into the forged will. A detective actually visited their homes. My mother tried to claim memory issues. My sister blamed my brother. My brother blamed confusion during grief. None of it mattered. Evidence talks. Lies crumble. The microclimaxes came one after another. First, when my brother admitted to tracing the signature. Then, when my mother confessed she thought it would be easier this way. Then, when my sister broke down crying in the courthouse hallway, saying she didn't think I'd fight back. And every time they tried to apologize, I let my attorney respond. Not me. I was done giving them access to my emotions. Remember when they said immediate family only? Well, the court agreed. Because when the judge handed down the ruling, she said something I will never forget. Family does not exclude. Fraud does. They were ordered to pay me $58,940 total. My mother had to take out a loan. My brother had to sell his truck. My sister had to cash out part of her retirement fund, and the settlement required a public record. Anyone could look up what they did. But here's where it gets even better. As part of the civil agreement, they had to write a written apology acknowledging the fraud, the harm, and the intent. Those letters are framed on my office wall. While they were drowning in consequences, I moved on. I got a promotion at work. My boss said watching how I handled everything with calm professionalism impressed the partners. I bought a new car. I moved into a 2-bedroom condo near Gray's Lake. I started hosting my own holidays with friends who actually treat me like a human being. And then, 3 months after everything ended, Mark tried to come back again. He showed up with tears in his eyes, talking about second chances and growth. I let him talk. I let him pour his heart out. When he finished, I simply said, "Immediate family only." Then I closed the door. The final consequence? They still haven't recovered socially. Even now, almost a year later, nobody trusts them. My sister's marriage is falling apart. My brother lost his job. My mother moved to another county to avoid people knowing her name. As for me, I thrived the moment I removed myself from them. I learned something powerful. Sometimes family isn't blood. Sometimes blood is just DNA. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is walking away and letting karma finish what it started. But my favorite part is this. Every Christmas, without fail, they send me nothing. No invitations, no photos, no bills. Silence. And it is the sweetest silence I have ever heard. Because now they know the truth. Ignoring me was their mistake. Billing me was their offense. But betraying me? That was the beginning of their downfall. And in the end, justice didn't just arrive. It arrived with interest.